What do you want me to do?
Oh, just record a few simple phrases.
Tower from Stingray. Tower from Stingray. Are we clear to enter Marineville?
Approaching Ocean Door.
Troy, I believe we're getting near now.
Oh, mon Dieu. No, let me go, Colonel, please. Oh, no, Captain Scarlet, please, no, Captain Scarlet. Parker.
Yes, m'lady. I remember Gerry coming up to me. I never met him before in a television film called Martin Kane, because he happened to be directing. He happened to mention to me that he was hoping to get into puppetry, and I said, well, you know, I do character voices. I'm fairly good on accents, and so he took down my particulars, as it were, and that was the beginning of a long working relationship with him.
Yippee!
It was a lucky day for me.
The 4 feathers on this hat are magic. They enable Tex Tucker's dog and horse to speak, and his guns to fire without him even touching them.
I think some of the best stories in show business are the ones which don't sort of add up. They're not the ones that you expect to hear.
Hold it! Hold it and stop the shooting. I'll plug the next man that fires.
Tex Tucker!
Gerry had already cast you, but wanted to know what voices for you to put to the characters he wanted you to play. And he came in with a script, and he said, there's the old woman. Now, Denise, what kind of voice would you try that? And you tried different voices. He said, oh, I like that one, so we stick to that. But he said, well, the trouble is, we really need somebody to read the part of Tex Tucker, the sheriff.
The town had better find someone else to wear this star.
Nicholas, he said, would you mind doing that?
I'd already plugged you, actually. Go on. I told him you'd be wonderful. But anyway, go on.
I took the role, and I wasn't going to just read it straight. I read it as an American like that, and I thought maybe this would fit the character. And I spoke like that, and so forth. And I remember his words at the end, and this is absolutely factual. He said, well, we found some excellent voices that Denise is going to supply for the other characters, but I think we've also found our Tex Tucker. Oh, gosh, look at that young man there.
But your cowboy always sounded like James... Stewart. And it was very good.
I'm glad you told me that.
Very good.
Oh, there's you.
No. Oh, yes, that's me.
Yes, you didn't recognise yourself now.
Totally unrecognisable. Gosh, I look young.
Oh, no, there's the Grandma Buggins that you did.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think she talked like that.
That's right, she
That's
did.
right. Oh, my dear. Oh, lordy, lordy.
There we are with Kenneth Connor. And he did do the horse. And
Yeah.
there's the little,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
his little dog. That's right, yes.
Anytime.
And there they are working the puppets.
Look at me. I can't...
Oh, yes, there you are.
I
Look.
can't believe I had so much black hair.
Oh, but look how beautiful you were then,
Well, I
too.
don't know about that.
And you did the little boy then, for that one.
That's right. I like doing Jake. I thought he was I love doing American children.
And there's David Graham.
Oh, yes.
And there's one of the old men he did.
Oh, darling. Oh.
1964, if you can go back that far, I was in a show called High Spirits at the Savoy Theatre. My friend, David Holliday, already was cast in Thunderbirds.
Cut engines. Fire flash, lift port wing, lift port wing.
He phoned me up and he said, they're looking for an Alan Tracy. They can't find one. So I phoned the office, got his secretary, made an appointment for the next day. And when I arrived there, she said, you can go straight in. So I opened the door of Sylvia's office, and she was sitting behind a desk, and Alan was sitting on top of the desk, the puppet. Before I could say anything, she said, don't speak, don't speak. I went, came and sat down. She said, oh, my God. She said, if I didn't know better, I'd say this was made to look like you on purpose. And so she said, say something. So I said, hello, Sylvia. My name is Matt Zimmerman. She said, that's the voice. That's the voice.
Come in, Alan.
Thunderbird 2 from Alan Tracy. Loud and clear.
Well, kiddo, what's the first impressions like?
The first impressions are great. Tell Brains he's done it again. She's a beaut.
Oh, fine.
See, at that time, I was doing all our casting. I got very friendly with the agents because I had to get nice deals with them and everything. And then if you use that one, I'll use that one sort of thing. They'd always tell me names that they told me 1,000 times before. And I said, no, I don't think so. Someone different, someone new. What Americans have you got?
I was doing a television play every 6 weeks, basically, which was, I did about 8 a year.
I got to know what actors they had, or I'd see something. A lot of times I'd see something.
They picked me up from there was a BBC series called Compact? Yeah, about a newspaper office.
Fireflash, this is International Rescue Mobile Control. In approximately 18 minutes from now, I will request you to land using runway 29. You are to come in with landing gear up. Repeat, landing gear up. Make a completely normal approach and keep your head.
I was working in England doing different voices on a radio series called Blood on the Prairie with an actor named Don Mason. Well, then Don and I went to see the Andersons. We talked about what kind of a voice I could use for Stingray. I had worked on a film called Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea with Peter Lorre. Maybe I could do that Peter Lorre type voice. Oh, mighty Titan, Stingray is doomed.
You've spent millions of dollars setting up a film so that you can kill Tempest, and now you tell me you failed?
I can explain, Titan.
I don't want your explanations.
Mighty Titan, I beg your forgiveness. I will do anything you say to make up for this bungling of mine.
And they said, yeah, that would work great. And then for the other character, Phones, I used the voice that I had used in that same film. I had been the radio operator from the South called Sparks.
Panic's over. It's just a fish. A big one, but it's only a fish.
And I thought we were going to see some action.
With Robert Easton, he was always Phones. Even when we finished recording, he was still Phones to me. He was one character that remained in character that I thought was really fun.
Phones, you're a natural actor. The way you said, is he? Great!
Is he?
Oh, he's done it again.
Lois Maxwell played the part of Atlanta. She was Miss Moneypenny in the James Bond films.
Well, what do you know?
Playing that part, it sort of suited Miss Moneypenny in a way. She was the right-hand lady, but she wasn't involved. And there was Marina coming up as this voluptuous, beautiful mermaid, if you like. So I thought that kind of worked.
Well, I certainly know what I'm up against.
Frankie Matthews I'd met before. I'd worked with him once. Francis Matthews, I thought, was a very dashing, good-looking character. And he said, what sort of character do you want? I said, well, I don't know. Give me a sort of American version thing. And he did the most wonderful Cary Grant.
Any new developments? No, sir. Proceeding as planned to rendezvous with the world president and escort him to Spectrum Maximum Security Building.
Then, of course, there was the great figure of Donald Gray, who played Captain Black.
I like a man who can keep a secret.
Sure. Oh, sure. I can keep my mouth shut.
I know you will, Earthman.
I mean, you should have been terrified of him, but he was such a nice man, very courteous, very, if I may say, old-fashioned English gentleman. That was him. He lost an arm during the war, actually, but he was such a nice man, lovely, lovely man.
Captain Scarlet.
Yes, sir?
You are to proceed with the President to London, and you will be escorted by the Angel flight. The life of the world's President is in your hands. I do not have to remind you that we are fighting forces that we do not understand. Anything could happen.
And, of course, Cy Grant, being a West Indian, played Lieutenant Green.
Sir, can I fly down and help in the manhunt?
No, Lieutenant, I need you here.
But, Colonel, the area is completely surrounded. All we can do is watch as they close in.
I'm sorry. If Captain Black is to be caught, we must make sure Central Control is fully manned.
Gerry, in a way, he'd already started casting people who were not of a white ethnic background. I mean, now it's de rigueur, but then it was not. Well, it was Cy Grant used to pick me up.
Oh, Cy Grant.
Every fortnight.
Well, you were lucky.
Yes, I know. Every fortnight there was this wonderful Adonis driving me in his wonderful Adonis car.
What was he doing now? Just driving you around?
No,
That's not fair. That's not fair.
If only.
Sam Luger from Joe 90. Airborne, over.
Remember, Joe, you've got the skill and the knowledge of the finest pilot in the Russian Air Force.
There'll be no match for you.
Okay, Sam, I've got the picture.
Joe 90 was a nice concept, really, because every kid dreams of flying an aircraft or being something special, test pilot. We had a boy that I cast because it was all centered around a child. And the whole point of it was that you had to have it really convincing for it to work. And that for the puppeteers then to make the child the image of the person I'd cast. Except he thought he would shock me, I think. When I was auditioning him, he started swearing at me. And, well, it's not at me, but saying, I said, hey, wait a minute. Why are you swearing? Why are you doing this? Do you think that's going to be clever because you come in and start saying the F word to me? I don't think so at all. You don't have to do that. But obviously someone had said something to him, oh, be shocking, or do something from a stage school. I thought, this is ridiculous.
How did I do?
You did just great, Joe.
So we cast him, but he didn't do the swear words.
As soon as we remove the electrodes, he'll be back to normal.
Well, Sylvia played Lady P.
Really? Do go on. I'm intrigued.
I was always interested in acting. I do remember very vividly Supercar, which was a really fun series to do. We couldn't afford lots of artists. We would bring in some people, but I would do the other things. It was something that I enjoyed doing and really realised I was quite good at doing.
Well, Jimmy, you still want to be a pilot like your big brother?
Sure do. Guess it won't hurt to have two pilots in the family.
Hold it. We've got trouble.
What's the matter, Bill?
Engine's cutting out.
So it helped with the finances, of course. I don't think the other guys would have said to me, go on doing it, if I hadn't been any good.
Oh, gee, thanks. Hey, I almost forgot. Where's Mitch?
Just try the gee, thanks. Without there.
Gee, thanks. Hey, I almost forgot. Where's Mitch? Gee, I sure am glad to hear that. Can I see him?
Yeah, a little more relief rather than excitement in that first line.
Gee, I sure am glad to hear that. Can I see him? Once more?
So I then graduated on to directing the voice artists.
We would arrive in Slough at the studios there.
It was like going to a country house. It was always in the country, wasn't it? Where we
No, it was AP Film Starting in Slough, which was a...
Yes, but that was in the country.
No, it's an industrial area.
Oh, well, I used
It was
to
on
go
an
off.
industrial estate.
Was
But this,
it really?
This is your
There was
natural
somewhere in the
romanticism.
country.
Your natural romanticism. You painted Slough as a beautiful place in the country.
Yeah, well, I probably did, yeah.
If it's not obvious why we recorded on a Sunday, it's because it was on a trading estate in Slough.
It was quiet.
And it was the only time it was quiet. Everybody else had, so we didn't have extraneous sound there. Although we didn't have much insulation in the recording area, I don't think.
A large barn of a studio, and we just had a section of it. We had a little section, it was curtained off, The joke was, where's the green room? There was no green room to sit in. If you wanted to sit, you went outside and found a chair.
And we would be given the first script, and we would sit and we'd read through it, and Sylvia would designate who would do the other voices.
And of course, we all had our regular characters, and then they used to parcel up. You do one script at a time. Then you used to parcel up all the other characters, and you say, well, do you think you could do that? Jerry would say, oh, David do that, or somebody do that.
It was very much like radio. I'd been in American radio since 1945.
We had one microphone. Everybody gathered around
that's true.
This one microphone, central microphone. And sometimes there were 8, 9, 10 people there. It was like a scrum.
We didn't have to worry about matching anything.
Well, we always recorded wild, and our voices were fitted to the puppets later on.
Sometimes when you do animation work, the animation is done and then you have to lip sync it after. In this case, with their particular Supermarionation technique that they had, the little characters had a little thing in their throat that was synchronized to match the pre-recorded soundtrack.
And I can remember the first time I saw Alan actually use my voice, it gave me the creeps, actually. It shocked me very much. Woo-hoo-hoo.
But what joy! We could do it wild, which is much, much easier and better.
So I think that probably gave us a little bit more freedom. I mean, I've done a lot of post-syncing where you have to time your lines to a dot which is going across the bottom of the screen, because you've got to sync up with somebody's mouth movements.
Because you're able to give a performance within the limited capabilities of any puppet, anything that is non-human.
The limitations were on the puppeteers.
I mean, with times I was talking to myself. I mean, I might have a scene with Parker and Brains. Well, of course, I'd have to switch, so you just gave a titular pause before you went in.
And you had to do it in such a way that you couldn't overlap if you're in a conversation, because they had to fit the voices to this wonderful new system they've got for puppets.
Do you have the same car as you had before?
Jones, you've got the script, have you?
Yes, indeed, I have.
And have you read it?
I have. I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Oh, good. That's absolutely fine, because everyone else is lined up in the cast, and we want you to do the part.
Oh, that's magnificent. I can't wait to see you and discuss it.
I think we did 3 scripts, so let's call that 90 pages. So the challenge is to take a stack of 90 pages and plow through this and get each scene done as well as you can, you know, or to print, and then eventually at the end of the day you've gone through these. It was the concentration and the standard. I'm still surprised at the standard that we came up with.
I think we do 1 script and then break for lunch, and or 1.5, and then do the rest in the afternoon.
Very happy times, wasn't it?
Very happy times, very happy atmosphere. But that was due to Gerry and Sylvia as well, because they created a lovely atmosphere there.
Well, I loved Sylvia from the moment I met her. She directed. Gerry never directed. I don't remember. Occasionally he would say something from the booth, like, Matt, you're too loud, or whatever.
Because I'd written quite a lot of the stuff and I knew the lines they were saying, then I was able to direct them and say, no, we don't quite get it like that.
The atmosphere during the recordings was very relaxed, always. Weren't they?
Too relaxed.
Kenneth Connor had a very dirty mind. His big chance came when I played Flopsy the Rag Doll, because Flopsy had a silly, funny little voice like that. And her stuffing kept falling out, and then she wanted to have the stuffing put back again. And when I came out with these lines, I was absolutely sure to get some combat from him on my left, and he couldn't really be restrained. So it did make the recording slightly tricky, but it also made it a lot of fun.
There was an awful lot of skylarking going on. The main contention was, because I was the youngest one and full of vitality, is David Graham could not leave me alone. Because David Graham thinks he's the master of puns, and he is not. And he used to drive me crazy. In fact, Sylvia used to say, David, leave Matt alone.
They were a bit like having a class in school. We say, what have you been doing over the week and everything? So I let them all talk about what this nasty director did and what the other actor did. And then finally, we'd say, let's have a look at the script. And I would say, have you got any comments? Which, of course, I shouldn't have said, because everyone's got a comment, you know.
Hamburgers a la Horatio Beaker might be too much of a good thing.
She spent a good deal of time correcting my accent, because I had been in England for, let's say, 3 years. Yeah. And I had perhaps lost my ear for an American accent, and possibly would slip into a Canadian accent.
How long did you say, Professor? 7 more days?
Now, Mike.
Now listen, Professor, what better way to test out the supercar than by rescuing those kids from the sea?
With the Canadians, you had to. They could never say out. They always say oot. So I used to have lots of things saying, will you say out, please? And Canadians can't.
And she had been married at one point to
an American.
To an American, right?
That's right.
So she would make sure I was on the right path to heroic performances with an American accent.
But it's only when they started get going in the voice that I go, no, it's oot. They're saying oot now.
Never in a flurry, never lost her temper. Wonderful.
I think you're either good at picking up accents or you're not. And I don't think it's something that you acquire. You hear people talk, and if you can pick that up, and I've always done that. I remember when I was a kid, I used to drive my parents mad. I'd slip into accents all the time, you know.
Having been to drama school in New York, and also having a reasonably good ear for accents, it held me very good stead when I started working with Gerry, because I could do the full spectrum of accents.
We used to laugh a lot. We used to have to stop recording completely because we would be hysterical. I remember the episode when Ray Barrett played the Duchess.
Why, Penelope, what a delightful surprise. I'm doing rather badly, I fear.
So I see.
Well, I mean, how we ever recorded that, I'll never know. I'll never know.
I'm a desperate woman.
I remember one episode in particular where I was this American explorer, and something blew up or something. We were trapped in a pyramid, and he had to go crazy. And of course, every time we had to do the scenes where I was going crazy, everybody laughed so hard. I took the longest time, and finally, I recorded it by having everybody out of the studio and recording it on my own. You know, and I'm going, what's going on? You know, let me out of here.
There's no more protection, Tracy. Now you will die.
The trials and tribulations of a vocal artist.
And you just let your imagination play on it. And then always when you read a script, if a character's written reasonably well, something happens inside you, you know, it's instant.
Those challenges are fun.
Parker was born in a pub restaurant in Cookham, near the studio, and when Gerry suggested we go to lunch there, and they said, we sat down, and he said, you know, he called the wine waiter over. He came over and he said, would you like to see the wine list, sir? I looked at Gerry, and Gerry looked at me. And so this wonderful character was born.
Jolly boating weather. Da 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 dee da da. Oh yes, when cook sees me in this gear, she'll be like putty in me hands.
Well, he's meant a lot to me, dear old Parker.
We're on our way home at last.
On our way home.
It had a robot, and we were thinking of a name, and we came up with a very, very, very original name, Robert the Robot. Then we needed to have a robot voice. Today, with modern sound recording, if you say to the engineer, we want a robot voice, he'll go, ding, 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 and oh, is that the sort of thing? Oh, you want a deeper one? Ding, 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 a deeper one. You know, whatever you wanted today, they produce in 2 seconds. But then it was very, very difficult, if not impossible, to produce a sort of robot voice which would have to be a monotone.
Understand blue. No, Robert, it's no need to get all steamed up.
So we found out that in Edinburgh University, they were creating the human voice by actually painting the modulations on a clear piece of film and then running it under a light, and the light would vary as it went through, and they produced a short sentence artificially. We went up there and explained what we wanted, and they came up with the idea that they gave us a vibrator, which of course caused everybody to smile, but not that kind of vibrator. And it was a vibrator that people who had their larynx removed through cancer would be able to put the vibrator under their chin, and it made a constant buzz. And then, of course, that sound was transmitted to the air inside the mouth, and I was then able to modulate that by mouthing the words. So let's get this straight, fellas. It was not my voice. It was the sound of the vibrator which I modulated.
Message understood.
We built a wooden box, which was quite long. And at one end there was a hole where I was able to push my mouth, creating a hermetic seal. And on the other end was a microphone. And so I'd have my mouth pushed into the hole in the box. I'd hold the vibrator underneath here. The sound of the vibrator couldn't get into the box, and that is why Robert always used to say, "On our way home," because you can't sound an H when you're modulating a tone in your mouth.
On our way home. Gee, I keep forgetting. You're only a robot.
I did this Mitch the monkey, and I actually went to the London Zoo. I must have been mad. But then, you know, you're either a method actor or you're not a method actor. And I looked into this cage and the monkey looked at me, and we had a little chat. And so I based the voice on Mitch the monkey, on the monkey I saw in the zoo, who went a bit like.
There was a time when we recorded and had not yet seen the puppets.
Yeah.
And so when one asks about George Marcel's supercar, I can see George giving this performance.
Yeah.
But the icing on the cake was seeing Master Spy.
Well, friend Zarin, and what do you think of that?
Oh, I liked it, Master Spy, very much. But I prefer westerns.
You fool. We seek not to rival the motion picture people, but to gain valuable information.
We were so isolated from the actual workings, the actual filming, and how the voices and the puppets were going to be put together. We were never au fait with all that.
We had no description at all of the puppets. We all wished we'd seen them before, because it would have, helped us in character, really. Would have helped us a great deal. You always have a picture in your head of what your character looks like, and the voice goes with it.
That is definitely Captain Scarlet.
I've played a gargantuan woman on radio, and I had to think big, think fat, think dumpy.
To see some of the stuff going on in the hardware department, it gives you a terrific sort of lift. You see what this thing is all about. And it was mesmerizing.
And when Gerry said we could bring our kids in, well, that was the day. And when they saw the sets with the explosions and the planes crashing and the mountains exploding and volcanoes and all sorts of things and all the planes taking off, they could not believe it. I've never seen children look so stunned in all my life. Well, children, we were stunned. We hadn't seen it before either.
And what struck me was the tininess of the figures and the sets. I mean, you had this kind of major output of the films, and you had these tiny sets, and the special effects had to be so carefully organized. I think that team was absolutely unique.
Those people were really geniuses.
The situations, although they were imaginary, they had to be acted with total reality, as if you were in a real play. Because if you don't believe what you're doing, then nobody else is going to believe what you're doing.
Easy does it. Easy. He's down.
The wheels, they've collapsed.
And the proof of it is that succeeding generations have been captivated by it, and they believe it.
I'm very glad that I did Stingray, and I'm very pleased that it's become, if you will, something that is so much the part of generations of little British kiddies growing up and seeing it, and then their children and their grandchildren seeing it, generation after generation.
It still holds up. It's very strange to watch it and realize it's rather good.
And I loved doing it, and it was lovely working with my then wife as well.
So I'm thrilled. It was one of the highlights.
These wonderful characters I was lucky enough to play are a sort of wonderful memory which will be with me until I shuffle off this mortal coil.
You're so poetic. You've got tears in my eyes. What?
No, I've got a little tissue if you want one.
Do you know it's been a passport in the business for all these years. You did Destiny? Oh, God, I had a crush on her.
I would call it the cornerstone of my voiceover career, which I enjoyed in the United States for 25 years and did 2,000 commercials.
Proud isn't the word. There's another word. And I don't know what that word is, but it's just, I'm so pleased to have been part of Thunderbirds.
No, all I can say, all I can remember, it was the most pleasant experience. It was using everybody in the company to the best advantage that there was.
Yes, I can amen to that.
And you know, I'm very proud of my association and whatever I contributed to those shows, because it meant so much to so many people, and I've seen that firsthand, and I still do. I still get letters from all over the world. And so you must be doing something right, mustn't you?
I guess there's one more thing. Okay, Professor.
Okay, Mike. Here she goes.
Okay, turn over.